Becoming a touring DJ in 2026 is harder than it's ever been before. You essentially have to do the job of 4 different people while competing with an influx of new producers every single day. Spotify has thousands of songs uploaded to it every day. So how do you plan your life in order to get to a point where you can stand out and compete as well as not burn out with the amount of work that you have to do? This is why in this video, I'm going to be giving you a very simple roadmap that's going to be tackling all the aspects of your music career, including music production, how to release your music, how to market yourself and build a hardcore fan base, along with getting gigs consistently. And you will be able to track your progress and give yourself more and more confidence in how the industry operates, as well as how you can progress within the industry to make measurable progress. I promise you that if you follow this plan, you will have your best year in music. All you have to do is lock in. Save this video for the future if you can't focus and pay full attention to this video, and watch it at a later time where you can sit down and write down all the things you need to do and apply things in a very systematic fashion. If you don't know who I am, I'm Crimson, a DJ, producer, as well as a music career mentor, and I've helped thousands of people make progress in their music careers, all the way from starting from nothing, not having a single release, not playing a single gig, to playing festivals as well as touring internationally and having their names on the biggest lineups along some of the biggest names in the world. If you're trying to grow exponentially in your pursuit of music, then subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so you can be notified for every video that comes out that is going to add value and help you get there. All right, so let's get into it. The biggest metric of success in the music career can be summarized by the word momentum. Specifically, it's about people perceiving you as an artist who is blowing up currently. But the reason why there are so few artists that are consistently touring is because momentum requires consistency. Consistency of music releases, consistency of backing those music releases with proper marketing, consistency of growing your fan base through viral marketing, consistency of getting gigs in a systematic fashion so that you're showing promise of touring, and consistently getting signed to record labels so that you can leverage their resources. If this made you feel overwhelmed like a deer in headlights, that is completely normal, and you are part of 99% of the producers who are pursuing music. But don't worry, I'm going to give you a very simple step-by-step plan to make sure that you are consistent. First, what we have to do is divide your year into 4 different phases. So at the time of you watching your video, you're on day 1 of your first phase. Each phase is a sprint of 3 months where you're going to be targeting one specific task. The first phase is going to be focused on accumulating music releases and making music so that you have enough music to send out and put out consistently throughout the year. The next phase is going to be targeted towards marketing those releases and ideally finding the right labels where you can target the releases to be sent to. The third phase is going to be focused on building a solid fan base and understanding a little bit of viral marketing and how to have a clear plan of growing on your socials. And the fourth phase is about consistently getting gigs and how do you plan your touring schedule so that you are now locked in for a certain period of time and accumulating content through those gigs to continually use it in your entire system and repeat the phases again next year. The first phase is dedicated to preparing music. You want to have at least 4 to 8 tracks ready in this phase of 3 months, ideally more. And the goal is to have completely mixed and mastered finished tracks ready to send out. Now, the types of tracks you want to make is 4 originals and 4 remixes. The reason we use remixes is because it will help you promote your original music when it does come out, or it actually gets you into the eye of the labels that you're getting signed to or trying to get signed to by sending original music to them. Remixes are an amazing way to market yourself, and they could be a doorway for you to be able to send original music to labels that you want to get signed to. A lot of labels are owned by big artists that consistently play and tour globally, and they're always looking for remixes as a way to bring excitement in their sets. Making the right kind of edit of a really popular song or a current song could lead you to be played by big DJs worldwide, establishing your credibility and in turn allowing you to send music to these artists as well as labels in a way that is more convincing than just sending a dry demo email. Now, if you don't know how to make music, the fastest way you can start learning is by creating a mashup. A mashup is something similar to a remix, but it's just taking two popular songs and mixing them together. A lot of big artists currently today have blown up by just promoting mashups and releasing mashups and have gotten millions of followers by just doing this. It's not hard to do it, and you can learn in 3 days to create your first mashup from zero, having no prior music knowledge as well as zero software that you buy by using AI tools. And I teach you this in my 3-day viral mashup challenge that you can access through the link below. When you're starting your music production journey, you want to focus 100% on the fun of it all. You want to focus on how enjoyable the process of making music is, because once you get into it, it is so addictive that you cannot stop. In the start, a lot of people have this perception that music production is really hard, and it really isn't, because it is fueled by passion, and the results that you get and being able to show your song to your friends when it's actually your own creation is immeasurable. I will also be putting out videos in the future of how to start making music in the most efficient way possible so that you can exponentially get better faster instead of taking years and years of tinkering around and guessing and watching YouTube videos. Now, if you already know how to make music, what you want to do is write down your benchmark. Take a before picture of your music production process. How long realistically does it take you to write a 16-bar loop, how to write an arrangement, how to mix down your tracks, how to master your tracks, and how long it takes you to do all of these things. Once you have that, now we're going to be focusing on efficiency and improving your workflow by templatizing so that you can get to a point where you can make a fully mixed and mastered track within 2 to 3 hours. The first part of phase 1 is actually focused on referencing and doing a lot of research to set ourselves up for speeding up our workflow and finishing tracks that are consistently high quality, good enough to send to labels. How do you finish 8 to 12 tracks in 3 months while keeping a consistent quality, as well as making sure that they fit within your signature sound and are going to fit the sound of the labels that you send this demo to? One day I was talking to a label A&R, and they told me how much their decision making about whether or not they're going to sign a song to a label depends upon whether or not that song fits the exact blueprint of that label. No longer is the strategy of just making the best song possible in that genre going to work, because every label has such precise decisions that you need to cater to. This includes the width of certain instruments, whether some things are mono versus stereo, the type of saturation, the length of the samples, the length of the kick, the type of bass line. All of these things are so precise and specific to the label, and this is changing from time to time. So if you're not able to take a snapshot of what that label sound is in that particular moment, you're going to be shooting a dart from miles away. So the simple process that I developed that has a 90% rate of success within my students is aggressive referencing. I used to take maybe 3 months to finish one track and had tons of unfinished projects till I started to do this one thing. The first step of this process is to find 3 professional sounding tracks that are performing well in your niche, as well as are signed to the labels that you want to get signed to. Next, what you do is you dissect these tracks by reverse engineering and figuring out the sample selection and the preset selection that they've done. This will help you make sure that you can find the right types of samples and presets, and what you want to focus on is the lengths of the samples, the widths of the samples, whether or not samples are layered, especially if there are drum samples like claps and hats. Also focus on details such as the types of ear candy, the types of reverb used within these songs. You can do a lot more now with AI tools by dissecting the stems and going deeper into it. I give my mentorship students a song analysis tool that helps them divide the process in a very structured manner, where they can identify from band to band, from low frequency, mid frequency to high frequency, and understand how wide, narrow an instrument is, as well as the details of the qualities of sound sounds within each of these instruments. Nothing kills your productivity more than trying to find the right type of samples. So once you do a deep analysis and try to figure out the sample selection that is being used by some of the reference tracks that you've chosen, you're going to be able to make these decisions a lot faster. And once you figure out what kind of samples and presets are being used by these artists, you can now save them in your own preset pack, and you can even now innovate and find sounds that fit the ballpark of these presets as well as samples, but still speak the language that the labels want you to speak, which is understanding their blueprint. After you've figured out the samples, now you want to go ahead and analyze the groove, the swing of the drums, along with the chord progressions used. Every label has a very specific type of feeling that the A&Rs like. Next, you want to analyze the arrangement. If you do arrangement analysis correctly, you're going to answer one of the biggest questions that I get asked by music producers worldwide is, how do I know when my track is done? By doing a solid arrangement analysis, you're going to be able to understand how many instruments are being used by people in your reference tracks, and then now you have a ballpark of how many instruments on the maximum and minimum you should be using, and how many instruments simultaneously need to be playing at a certain amount of time, so you can take all the guesswork out of whether or not your track is done. Especially if you listen to your track consistently for a long period of time, you always feel like it is not exciting enough and you end up adding too many instruments. This way, you're going to be developing very strong instincts that will help you make sure that you do not need to send your music to feedback streams to get a clearer idea of whether or not your song is professional quality or not. Now, there are certain tools out there that will help you compare things a lot deeper. One of them is Metric Adapter AB. This will give you a clear, multi-dimensional view of how your track sounds and what's missing in your track compared to reference tracks by just switching between your track and the reference track. Now, once you've created this template with all of this referencing and you've documented all the decisions that artists in your reference tracks make, you can now emulate and then innovate and start putting in your own instruments that you feel still fit the quality and the style of the labels that you're going for. This is where you personalize your template and make sure that you introduce signature elements in your own track that you can use in all of your tracks in the future. Once you have your template, now you should be able to finish those 4 remixes and 4 originals in no time. And if you want to understand deeply how I teach my students and help them get signed to big labels on their first ever release, then you can join my waitlist and learn more about my program. I'll put a link in the description below. Phase 2 is focused on sending your original music out to record labels, as well as releasing and planning the release of your remixes. So why do you need record labels in 2026 when you're expected to market yourself, as well as you can distribute your music through many different platforms which allow you to keep 100% of your royalties, whereas labels take splits? Labels assign a level of credibility to your music. It's like a Pokemon gym badge. When DJs see that you're signed to a certain label, they are more likely to listen to your promos and play them out just because of the fact that they identify the labels as a stamp of quality. It also builds an ecosystem. Now you get connected to all the other DJs who are signed to that record label, and you can build relationships with them because you have this common ground and an established sense of quality. And you're seen as an artist who understands the game and also understands the genre that you're making deeply. Labels also have resources such as promo pools, which send music to DJs through this platform called InFlight and leverage PR companies to promote the releases, which gets you on certain Spotify playlists if they have the relationship with them. This is why you need to be very selective with the labels that you want to get signed to. Ideally, you're building your own independent brand, and if you can release the music independently and get a lot of streams, that is already a big bonus. But what labels also provide is a stamp of approval that promoters and bookers look at and see as a sense of, okay, now we understand that this artist is going to be playing a specific style of music that is signed by that label, as well as understand that your level of quality of DJing and production will match those that are on the lineup. If you start consistently releasing with a set of labels that work together, then you also get the opportunity to play showcase shows and are very attractive to booking agents and managers who are managing artists within those labels to further help you in your music career. Because in the end, you want to develop a team and have a team that has your back and helps you with business decisions regarding who you should collaborate with and what labels you should get signed to. This can give you a huge step up and boost in your momentum. This way, a label can open up a lot of doors for you for gigs, and you can leverage the relationships that the label has built with their own reputation, as well as consistency and momentum, and you can leverage these for your own benefit. So in this phase, you need to find the contact details to send music to these labels. This can be found either on Instagram, where they might have the demo inbox on their own bio. There are also websites for demo drops such as Label Radar and other websites as well, where you can send the music by just dropping it into these platforms. You want to document all these demo emails in a database using Google Sheets or any other platform. And you also want to start building your own DJ promo list where you find all the emails of DJs that you can send your music to, which will get played out and eventually even help you in getting signed. If big DJs play your music out in festivals and you found clips of them, sending that clip to the label that you're trying to get signed to is going to increase your chances of getting signed to that label. You can find the DJ promo emails just like you did with the labels by going on IG of those specific artists. A lot of them have them advertised. Otherwise, quick Google search can also find a lot of them. Once you've filled up your database with DJ promo emails as well as demo inboxes, you want to hold off on sending off your demos and first plan the release of your remixes. Ideally, you want to release one remix a month, and you want to leverage platforms like Hyped to exchange the download of those remixes for a follow or some sort of repost on SoundCloud or Spotify in order to blow up your social media a little bit and look more appealing to demos that you send in the future. This is where you can also leverage a little bit of phase 3 and start making content for those remixes so that you're promoting it on social media and showing that you are active before sending demos out to labels. Labels are not necessarily always looking at artists who are always blowing up, but they also look for artists who show promise of eventually blowing up by showing consistency in their social media. So keep posting your remixes and unreleased music and promoting them on social media while you're sending demos out. One small note about labels, you not only want to find A-level labels, which are the biggest labels that you can aim for, but you also want to find labels that the artists of that label have started, because that will give you a higher chance when you have a B-level label that you can get signed to easily, because some of the A-level labels are not accessible until they see that you are worthy of their attention. And that's when an artist can refer your song to that label. At the end of this phase, you should have a database and a clear direction of which labels that you're trying to target, as well as what artists you want to play your music. In phase 3, you are focused on understanding marketing and getting fans and building a strong fan base. This phase and the next 3 months are dedicated towards creating marketing content and scheduling it so that you are set up for the rest of the year. Traditional marketing is dead, and now it's all about viral marketing. If you don't understand what it takes to go viral, then you're going to be left behind. Viral marketing has a lot of moving parts, which I'm going to get into. Your goal here is to streamline your content creation process, so you're limiting your content creation and editing to 2 hours for a month worth of content. I gained over 100,000 followers in just 3 months and millions of views on multiple posts of mine just by following a simple system that you can also repeat and consistently execute and dedicate only 2 hours a month to create a whole month worth of content. In this video, I will outline an overview of this entire system, but the full system takes 6 hours long to understand, and you can access the full course in the description below. The Go Viral system can be broken down in 6 main parts. First, understanding your audience. Second, understanding who your competitors are and what they're doing, especially the ones who are up and coming and are doing social media right in your specific niche. Third, understanding the algorithm and different social media platforms and how differently they operate. Fourth, understanding the psychology of attention, scripting videos, and understanding dopamine triggers. Creating systems to mass produce and edit content in batches to simplify and reduce your content creation. Sixth, scheduling posts to just sit back and watch the growth of your social media while not doing menial tasks consistently. First, you need to understand your audience. If you are giving steak to a vegan, no matter how good the steak that you make, the vegan will not eat it. This is something very important for you to understand is if you're trying to market your music and you're targeting the wrong people, what's going to end up happening is you're not going to get a lot of shares and interactions and engagement to your posts, and you'll think that your music is not good or your posts are not good. This is why it's so crucial to understand how to target your audience and how to even find out who your audience is and how to talk in their language. This is why you need to leverage psychology. And one way to think about it is the Myers-Briggs personality type. Most people think that audience is just age, sex, and location. That is just the basic fundamentals, but more importantly, you need to understand whether they are extroverts, introverts, they're thinkers or feelers, perceptive or judgmental. All of these aspects define a Myers-Briggs personality type, and this will also give you a clearer idea of how you should portray yourself on social media. So what you want to do is figure out what is the general population that listens to your style of music. If they're extroverted thinkers, then they're going to tend to want content that is lighthearted, funny. Memes would work in this situation. But if your audience is deeper and likes more emotional depth, then they are going to be turned off by memes and lighthearted content, and they would want more deeper connection. The understanding the personality types of your audience is going to help you shape your brand and will help you understand what kind of storylines that you can portray on your social media that they can get attached to. Everybody loves a story. If you think about history, you can think about Alexander the Great and his conquests, or any other great figure in history. They all have very specific storylines that they are known. If you have too broad of a storyline and too many storylines going simultaneously, it might confuse your audience and you might not have a strong brand. The three biggest mistakes that people make when posting social media content is thinking that you can target everybody, and if your music is good, an audience will find you magically. How social media actually works is if your post is shown to a lot of people who are not really looking for your music, they won't engage with it. And in the end, what the algorithm starts doing is thinking that your post is just not engaging enough, and it stops showing it to other people. This is why you want to be very specific about who follows you, and the kind of content that you put out will attract the right kind of people. Your goal is to get as many streams on your songs as possible, which means that your focus should be to attract the audience that listens to your music, which ends up helping you out in your music career. Another mistake that a lot of people do is they think that if they just blow their social media up by using memes or trends, they will attract the right kind of audience, and the bigger the following they have, the more success they'll. If your followers don't convert to ticket sales, it doesn't matter how many followers you are not able to get the biggest shows or the lineup positions that you really, really want. Another big mistake that a lot of artists do is they use push versus pull. If you're trying to push your music onto people by promoting it and using promotional language, like things are out now, or if you don't support me, you are not a good person, it's coming off as if your music is just not good enough to attract the right kind of people. You want to just trust the process and be consistent in understanding social media better to craft the posts that naturally attract the audience that is resonating with your music. Once you understand your audience, now you want to go deep into competitor analysis, and you want to understand exactly what your competitors are doing. Ideally, someone who is up and coming, because up and coming artists are going to make content that you can actually reproduce. Whereas if you're not playing festival shows and are looking at already established DJs, they're mostly posting videos from their tours, which you can't really reproduce. The first thing you want to do is go and analyze the best performing posts of the up and coming artists, see what they're doing, what kind of text they're using, how you can relate that text to your audience, what kind of content type they're using, whether it's slideshows, short form videos, or even long form content, what parts of their songs they're using to promote their audio on Instagram and TikTok, and what content they're using to nurture their already existing followers by showing parts of their personality. And finally, what hashtag, description, and also call to actions that they're using to get people to continually follow them and engage with their content. After you've done the competitor analysis, now it's time to dive deep into understanding the algorithm and understanding how social media works. The attention span has been reduced, and now people are very picky about what they want to spend their time watching. This is why you need to understand how to hook in an audience in the first 3 seconds of your post, which will stop people from scrolling away. Understand what people are doing in order to make people stay longer on their video or even re-watch the video, as well as understanding deeply what features of social media you can use to increase the engagement. For example, in Reels, you have polls that if people engage with the polls, it counts as an engagement, along with the shares, comments, likes, and even reposts at this point. You also want to understand that now social media has become a lot about understanding dopamine triggers. So you need to understand throughout your video how you can sprinkle in certain dopamine triggers to get people to watch longer and even stay till the end of the video or repeat the audio again and again and again. The main thing you also want to focus on as a musician is get as many people as possible to reuse your audio, because the more people who use your audio in their own reels, the higher chance for you to go viral when you use that same audio on your own posts, because the artist that originally created that audio is going to get the most amount of algorithmic benefits from using that post, as it shows up at the top. And after you've understood social media, now you want to get down and dirty and make the content. And in this situation, you want to again focus on templating. You can create many templates. A simple tool to use to edit your videos is called CapCut. You want to basically go out and record video, maximum spending 1 to 2 hours a month, and then spending another day to edit videos and create a template so you can batch edit and put out at least 12 to 30 videos for every shoot that you go to. This means that when you're going out and recording content, you want to use as many of your original videos. You want to think about how you can create long form videos and then chop them up into short form videos, and emphasize on the remixes that you made, because those have the highest chance of virality. This seems like a lot, but half of the battle is just doing all of the research once and documenting it again in some form of Google Sheet or another tool, so that you can consistently just refer to it before posting content. And you can even document ideas of your competitors or well-performing posts in other niches, so you have ideas already documented and ready to record when you go out on your recording sessions. Again, your goal here is to focus on limiting the amount of time you're spending creating content and editing it to maximum 3 to 4 hours for a month worth of content, which means around 30 videos. I give you this entire system along with all the tools and how to document, and I teach you how to understand all of the details of social media as well as viral marketing in terms of understanding your audience, etc., in my Go Viral course, which again is in the link in the description below. Now, once you start posting, you also want to create a document where you're measuring your consistency and what is working and what isn't. Once one formula is working for you and your audience and it starts going viral, you want to try and keep that as your brand focus, and you want to keep repeating that formula again and again for the highest chance of virality. And that's how you get to become that person who owns that type of content. That's the end of phase 3, and now we go into phase 4, which is getting gigs consistently. If you're a DJ struggling to get gigs and don't know how, I don't blame you. Even though this is the most important source of income for DJs, it is one of the least talked about topics, where there is a lot of vague advice being given out talking about you will eventually get there or just keep. And this advice is very frustrating because it doesn't give you any actionable steps, neither does it actually guarantee any sort of consistency in gigs. Whether or not you can actually build a good relationship with somebody cannot be left by chance. There are so many details around what actually people who are booking shows are looking for in DJs, and you need to know all of the steps along the way. This is why I'm going to be going over a very simple system that you can follow and build into habits that will give you the highest chance of getting a consistent. We will be going over mistakes that most DJs make that can cost them their career, and what are bookers and talent buyers looking for in a DJ that will make them efficient ways to find events you can play. How to find contact information of bookers, talent buyers, and promoters of those events, and how to keep track of how to get on their radar using ads, as well as building relationships with them without being in the same, how to reach out to them, and what to expect when you first start booking. If you don't know who I am, I'm a music career mentor, DJ, producer that has toured around the world and booked my own tours, while also have helped thousands of people book their first festival show as well as their first tour schedule, all by going through my simple mentorship program, which focuses on systems. And if you want to learn more about my mentorship program, you can click the link in the description below and sign up for the waitlist and get more information about it. The biggest mistake that most DJs make when trying to make a career in music and trying to tour is that they focus too much on the local game versus going international. If you focus on the local game too much, your focus will be building skills that are not transferable to the international touring game. Local gigs require you to be in a competitive mindset, competing with local DJs for slots that pay you the minimum amount of money and give you only a fractional return of investment of time towards actually building a full lasting career. The focus in local game is networking, which means you're spending hours of time going and supporting a lot of local promoters and event hosters, and it becomes more of doing you a favor vibe, where the promoters are just doing you a favor by giving you these slots, and meritocracy kind of is not rewarded in this situation. What is rewarded instead is the people who are more present in the shows consistently, showing up to after parties and partying consistently with local promoters, and they see you as a friend. I've seen so many DJs get bitter and quit at this phase when they're just consistently focusing on the local game, because you constantly feel undervalued and you're always looking at what other DJs are doing to get more of a favor with the booker, and the booker is just trying to do you a favor, so they also look down upon you, and there is a power dynamic struggle which is very toxic. Also, if you're considered a local DJ, there's a lot of pressure to cater to the headliner every time you're playing, instead of actually playing the kind of music that you enjoy playing consistently. And this is where, if you start thinking like an artist and a headliner and build a brand where you are established as an artist of a certain style of music, it will really help you be able to do what you really like to do and play the kind of music that you really enjoy playing, versus having to cater for every single gig that you're trying to play. Where if you are just a DJ and you don't know how to produce music, then you basically want to start off by making mashups, and you can join my 3-day viral mashup masterclass, where you can learn how to create your first mashup in just 3 days. You don't need any knowledge of how to make music. There are 3 main things that talent buyers and bookers are looking for from DJs, and that is: 1, you have notoriety. You can sell tickets. That's the bottom line. You are going to attract people to their event by your brand, or by your music, or by your credibility, by being associated to labels, or just your hype on social media. The second thing that talent buyers and bookers are looking for is a consistency of sound. If you are putting out a lot of mixes on SoundCloud and all of them are of different genres, the bookers, when they are approached, don't know what kind of music you'll be playing. Being broad doesn't necessarily help you in getting booked. It actually dilutes your brand. So having a consistency of sound and a clear brand direction will help bookers be confident in booking you and know exactly what kind of set you'll be playing, so they can figure out what part of the lineup you will be placed in. And finally, what bookers and talent buyers are looking for is momentum, which requires consistency in posting on social media. It doesn't mean that you have to blow up on social media, but it does help. But you need to be consistent in posting on social media, consistently either releasing sets or releasing music, consistently posting YouTube sets, any form of showing that your work ethic is consistent and you're in it for the long term, which means that when the booker books you, they can have a long-term relationship with you. How do you find events, festivals, and clubs to play around you? The most important thing to understand first is to take the path of least resistance, which means figure out logistics in 3 separate things that you need to focus on. 1, you need to figure out where you can play legally, which means you do not need to apply for a visa, or you can get a visa easily, or it's worth applying to a visa because you're getting so many gigs over there, or there are so many opportunities of gigs that already have the promise of blowing up your music career. Next, you want to identify the range of distance you can travel to without losing money. So if it means that traveling by plane or driving, etc., to these events, it won't cost you more than you make, because in the events, they generally don't pay you until you really, really get big. They won't comp your ticket. They will give you a lump sum, and you have to pay for your own tickets, even when you are quite a bit established. So maximum, they might throw in a hotel night stay at a place, and they might even comp a single meal, and you might even get a ride to and from the event and to and from the airport. But besides that, you have to pay for your own flights and transportation to that event. So take that into consideration when you're thinking about the range of distance you can travel to and the events happening around you. And finally, you want to think about whether or not you're at a certain level with your social media releases and label signings to even be considered to play there. If there's a festival with headliners that are so far above you and they're very limited opening slots that are provided, and usually they're given to the resident DJs, then it's not even worth considering those places. Once you figured out this logistics, you want to start a database, ideally using Google Sheets or some other source like Notion, to document and keep track of all these events that you can actually play. One thing to consider before you're finding shows to play is that booking decisions for lineups are made maybe 2 to 6 months prior to the event itself. For smaller events, it might take 2 months. For big festivals, the lineup might be finalized 6 months prior, because they are hyper organized and they have full-on teams that are reaching out to people to book them to play the festivals. So an easy way to find out which events you can play within the next 2 to 6 months is by first finding artists that are in the same niche or genre that you produce or DJ. And you want to make sure that these artists are maybe one step above you. And you go to websites like Songkick, which is free, or bookingagent.io, which is paid but gives you access to actual contact information of bookers, talent buyers, etc. Once you've found the artist on these websites, you want to look at what events they played last year in a time span of 2 to 4 or 2 to 6 months ahead of your current time of watching this video. So if you're watching this video in February, then you want to go to the artist's page and find out what shows they played last year in April onwards, and see which events, promoters, as well as festivals they were playing, and document them in your database. You can also go to the artist's Instagram, where they usually promote their own events, and look at their posts around that time and see which events are the ones that you can play and document them as well. Next, you can look at who is the booker, promoter, or even the event host of those events by looking at the IG posts and see who is commenting, who is tagged on those posts, or even by going to LinkedIn if it's a big festival and going to the company that hosts that event and looking under the employer section and see if you can find people with the jobs of talent buyer, booker, etc. Now, to actually get the contact information of these bookers, sometimes they advertise. There are also email search tools that you can find online that can get the email of somebody through their LinkedIn profile or their Instagram handle, etc. Otherwise, you can also go onto their Instagram and sometimes they are advertising their emails to contact them. But if you can't, then you can just simply drop a simple DM saying that, hey, I have a business opportunity that I would like to discuss with you. What's the best email for this? One amazing hack that nobody uses to get on the radar of bookers and talent buyers so that they are more compelled to book you for shows is running Facebook ads targeted towards these talent buyers and bookers by finding out the emails and populating them in the Meta Ads Manager. And once you populate them in a custom audience, you can now run ads targeted specifically to these accounts. Make sure to use one of your best performing posts in these ads and make sure that it is related to the style of music that they're looking to book. So if it's a DJ video of you DJing that specific style of music that's blowing up, you can use that post and it will show up on their profile with the same amount of likes and comments, etc., which will give them an inclination and subconsciously prep them when you actually go ahead and contact them directly. If you want me to make a detailed video about how to create these custom audiences as well as run targeted ads, just comment Meta Ads in the comment below. One of the biggest mistakes that DJs make when they're trying to send an email to a booker to get booked to a gig is that they basically write out their entire life story in their first email. And that's an easy way to get ignored. What you want to do instead is write 3 email scripts that you send in a sequence. First is just asking them whether or not they're the right person for the job. So a simple email asking, hey, are you the booker for event X? Or are you the person doing bookings for this event? And that gives them a low amount of investment. All they have to do is reply with a yes or no, which basically now shows up in their inbox as an opened email with the response that they've already replied to, which gives them more incentive to respond to your next email in that thread. In the second email, you're focused on providing value and showing them why you fit the lineup. So you want to show a YouTube set or you want to share a SoundCloud set that ideally has a lot of plays which fits the exact style of the lineup that they're booking for. You also want to include any sort of marketing that you're going to be doing or marketing resources that you can leverage to promote the event further. Third, you want to subtly hint at the fact that you have credibility within the industry by adding labels that you're signed to in your email signature. And ideally, these labels are the labels that the artists that they're booking currently are signed to as well. You can also add information in your email signature regarding your Spotify streams, SoundCloud plays, or followers on Instagram, etc. If you think you have enough numbers that will actually nudge the booker to consider you seriously for that lineup position. Additionally, you want to create follow-up email scripts to consistently follow up because sometimes people are very busy and you might just drown in their inbox. You want to follow up every 2 to 3 days, and the follow-up scripts should always be giving more information and adding more value. So you could be saying like, I forgot to give you my YouTube video that I posted 3 months ago, which got a lot of views, or I forgot to share my SoundCloud link with you, or I forgot to share my Instagram account with you. How do you feel about this proposition? What do you do when you're about to be booked for an event and now they want to negotiate with you regarding how much they're going to pay you? First things first, you want to have a realistic expectation and you want to understand what is the value that you're bringing to the festival. If you are put on the lineup for this event, will that increase your credibility as well as increase your reputation and give you more opportunities in the future? Can you record yourself during these events to create content so you can leverage it to blow up your social media and increase your chances to play more shows in the future? Will you have opportunities to network with other artists on the lineup that might help you essentially get your music played out by these artists, or even get signed to the labels that these artists own or are part of? Or even is building a relationship with this booker or talent buyer going to get you back to this event in the future, or open up other doors for other events that are smaller or of equal credibility? In the start, if you do not have a lot of leverage, it might be worth it to just break even. It is a competitive market and you want to think long term about a career, and this requires you to make certain sacrifices. And that means if you have to break even, you should not go into a loss, but yeah, breaking even might be worth it in a lot of situations. But if you have a bunch of leverage and you've played shows and you have a consistency of amount of money that you charge, and you've played other events of that same stature, then you can ask, would an increase in pay be considered? But you want to do this strategically by making sure that you are telling them how excited you are to be part of this lineup, and would the consideration of a slight increase of asking money be feasible? Once you're booked to play a show, how do you make sure that you are going to be booked again for that same show? And how do you show up, and what do you do at the event to make sure that you have the highest chances of getting booked again? First things first, you need to be very prepared with backup USBs to make sure that there's nothing that can go wrong during the festival. Test out your USBs in different CDJs or whatever equipment is going to be available at the festival by either renting the equipment out or going to a friend's place who has that equipment. Next, you want to show up early so that you can do some sort of check, as well as just, support the event early enough for the earlier artists, building relationships and having normal conversations, showing that you are excited to be at the festival with the talent buyers and the general staff at the event. Do not complain about the event or any of these small problems that you might have had, or even technical issues that you might be facing, or maybe the quality of the event equipment, etc. It is really hard to run events, and everything is quite stressful as it is. And you need to be very patient and supportive and understanding of their situation. And complaining about it just shows that you're ungrateful for the opportunity, and that's a sure way to not get booked again. Next, you want to make sure to bring a crowd if you possibly can. A group of friends, a lot of enthusiastic people that will be there during your show. You want to set up yourself to record a lot of content, bring your backup phone, or just set up your phone with a stand, etc., to record content during that festival that you can leverage in the future to also promote the event in the future. That shows that you're posting on social media after the event, promoting the event. That's going to be looked at very favorably for your consideration to be booked in that event in the future. When you're preparing your set, you want to make sure you're fitting the vibe of the lineup slot. Even though you are booked as an artist and you want to focus on being known as a brand for a certain style of music, even within that style of music, if you're playing an opening slot, which is just warming up, then you want to play music that will set up the mood, slowly taking them on a journey, bringing them up in energy, rather than just dropping whatever kind of music makes you excited. It is quite a bit of a red flag if a DJ doesn't care about the crowd and doesn't care about the vibe of the energy and doesn't even consider the next artist that's coming to play. If you are a big enough artist, then you don't have to worry about all of this. But if you are starting off, you need to focus on making sure that you're setting up the next DJ perfectly, as well as setting the mood for the crowd so that they can enjoy your music, highlighting your own originals and remixes, but also making sure that you set it up so that there is a gradual increase in energy and a gradual decline if the next DJ is of a lower energy level of DJ set. When you're starting off, the main point of playing shows and gigs is to make as much content as possible to leverage to continually grow your brand in the future. If you go to a DJ set, it doesn't matter if you mess up or if you didn't do well or if there wasn't enough of a crowd. Your goal is to create as much content as possible to see how you can even connect with your audience in the future by showing your mistakes or showing malfunctions or showing problems that you faced during your set, or showing that you're starting off and nobody was there during your DJ set, and this is what the life of an artist is like. You want to capture as many moments as possible, even fan connection moments. So if a fan is showing you some text on their phone while you're DJing, recording that moment is going to be so much more useful for you after the set is done. If you can record your entire set as well, you can use that as long form content on YouTube as a DJ set of you playing it live, as well as you can chop them up into short form content that you can use for a whole month if you can chop them up into 12 to 24 songs. If you follow this 4-phase plan consistently, you will see the biggest success rate in your career that you've had yet. All you have to do is be consistent and document your journey to keep track of all the growth that you've had, because the growth is going to give you a dopamine hit and is going to keep you more excited and motivated in the future. So documenting and measuring your success along the way is as important as just executing the steps. I have a simple printable PDF planner to execute this plan consistently, where you can document your journey and write down all the things that you need to do week by week, day by day, which is available in the link in the descriptions below. This will help you stay consistent, and this will clearly give you an idea of which phase you're in and what plan you have for the next few weeks as well as months. If you are really, really serious about making music a career, then I highlight much more detail, giving you even simpler systems, making it easy for you to execute and make a career out of music in my mentorship program, which I will put a link in the description below, so you can actually join the waitlist as well as see all the students who have seen benefit from this, going from not playing a single gig, not having a single release, to touring internationally, having millions of streams, and finally living their dream, doing what they love.